everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are really excited for this webinar. We have a very special guest with us today from Google, and her name is Susana Zialcita, and she handles strategic partnerships over at Google. And she really focuses on bringing online advertising to that small and medium-sized business niche. And she works with all different types of businesses there that partner with Google. Prior to joining Google, she was actually at Random House, where she handled digital marketing and also the Walt Disney Company. So, really big names. And she also worked in ad agencies that specialized in the gaming industry and feature film marketing. And she holds an MBA and a BA from UCLA, and she's from California originally, but now she's in New York City. So we're really excited to have her here today, and take it away, Susana.
Thank you, Catherine, and hi, everyone. It's so great to join Local Voxberry for this webinar. I wanted to start by telling you a little bit of a story about my living room. So you can see there a picture of the pipe that connects my radiator to the rest of the building, and every year when they shut the heat off, this happens. Not only does water sort of leak through the crack, but a lot of the roof ends up on my living room floor. So I, every year, take out my mobile phone and figure out, for one, who is available yesterday to help me with this problem. It's a really bothersome problem, and even though we have about 7 different types of devices in my household that connect to the internet, I always start with my phone. So it's not only me who uses smartphones to find help from local service providers and local businesses. Pretty much telephones have been around for all of the ages, and mobile has changed how consumers use and search for service providers. They also want a choice on how they reach your business. Sometimes it's easier to call rather than research you online. 57% of consumers will talk to a real person and prefer that. So we want to help you figure out how not to miss out on the demands for calls, specifically on mobile phones. Today, I'm going to talk about how you can use mobile advertising to generate conversations with your potential customers. So in today's mobile-centric world, people are constantly on their phone. The average person checks their phone about 150 times a day, and these mobile sessions average around 1 minute and 10 seconds in length. Some of these sessions, like when you're texting your friend or sharing funny pictures of your dog, those aren't really prime times for advertising. Your ad, in fact, would kind of be an interruption. Other moments are very good moments to be advertising your business and reaching out to people on their mobile devices. These are the times when I turn to my phone and search for an answer. I need help fixing my radiator, painting over that broken pipe. These are the moments where we want to help inform our customers' choices and help them make the right decisions. And those are when you need to be there for your potential customers. At Google, we call these micro moments. They're the moments when you ask your phone for help. We call them an I want to know moment, an I want to go moment, an I want to buy moment, and an I want to do moment. And they're loaded with intent, context, and immediacy. The moment that I want to talk about today is called I think I'll give them a call moment. And there are lots of reasons why people will opt to call versus visiting your website on a mobile device or desktop. They call when they can't use their hands or eyes, like when they're driving, when they're walking their dog. They call because they have questions. Say you're purchasing something sort of expensive or complicated, and you need to understand really nuanced information about how to make that decision. Or you might want to call because you want personalized service. 57% of people claim that they call local businesses because they just want to talk to a real person. The fact is, When they call, they're nearly ready to buy or make a decision to engage with your service. And that's a perfect opportunity to assist them to become your customer. So you probably have about 1 or 2 chances to win that new business. And when a customer is looking for something and wants to engage with your business, you don't want to limit them to just engaging with your mobile website. If you tailor your advertising to just one action, say filling out a form or purely just visiting your website, you have the potential to spend money on advertising that doesn't suit your customer's needs. So here's how to think about tailoring your advertising to the varied needs of moments on mobile phones. All of those I want to go moments, I want to buy moments, or I want to give them a call moment. 162 billion calls from mobile phones are expected in 2019. The opportunities available to you to capture new business on mobile devices are going to grow and grow and grow every year. By giving your customers more options to engage with you, even in text message form, you can better meet their needs and win their business through what we call conversational sales. So let's talk a little bit about how to start to advertise for conversational sales. If you have a phone number on your website, you are already getting calls from your customers, I hope. However, if you are not measuring what drove those calls, you're not really getting the full picture of how your advertising is working. It limits how you tailor your advertising strategy, and it limits your ability to spend money for what works for your business. If you don't give users the option to call directly from ads, a lot will explore other brands. In fact, 47% of customers said that if they couldn't find what they needed to do on your website, they'd visit another customer's website, another business's website, and potentially patronize that business instead. What you're doing is adding additional steps. People have to visit your site, they have to find the phone number. Depending on how you have your site set up, they've got to write it down and then tap the number back into their mobile device. That creates friction and unnecessary steps, and our goal in mobile advertising is to help reduce friction to commerce for both advertisers and customers. I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of the case studies that you see on the slide here, but I wanted to say that improving the customer's experience on their mobile phone has an amazing impact on how they engage with your business. We frequently see that advertisers that leverage calls as a core part of their strategy have phenomenal results, and you can see some of them here on screen. Extra Space Storage had 27% more bookings because they optimized for their mobile advertising. Nutrisystem had 10 times more calls on mobile web. This strategy has earned these businesses more customers and reduced the cost to acquire these new customers. Lowering the cost to acquire a new customer is, of course, what we're all trying to do together, but these numbers also don't reflect other benefits like a lifetime value. So a customer is so much more likely to engage with your business if they've had a good experience the first time around. And if you can keep that customer, a loyal customer, for 2 years, you'll want to factor in that value into how you think about spending for your advertising. People are still using their smartphones to call because it is just easier. I mentioned a couple situations before, and I think I had said that 57% of people really just prefer to talk to a real person. 70% of mobile searchers have called directly from search results. All of the calls that you receive are a valuable opportunity, and when you turn people away by potentially not advertising on mobile phones, you're turning away sales. So let's talk a little bit about how we can work with LocalVox to get you phone calls optimized for mobile devices. Calls are influential in helping people make decisions about whether to engage with your business, especially if the person answering the phone is more than just an order taker. So when you get a call from your mobile advertising, you want to try and set people's minds at ease. A lot of people who, say, have called for help with electronics, help with, say, heating and ventilation, say that calls have been extremely important in deciding who to work with. In fact, when people call electricians, 56% of people say calls are the most important factor. When you get that call, you want to help unlock the value of that business by asking questions. So dive really deep into the customer's concern, especially when they're facing a complex problem like my combined heating, plumbing, radiator, painting, ceiling problem. I'm not quite sure which service provider is the right person to engage with. It'll involve a conversation, and it'll probably involve a couple of different conversations. And a good phone call can help customers understand the right amount of money that they need to spend with your business and how they can make an informed decision about patronizing you. Blinds.com, because you have to measure the windows, you have to figure out what types of blinds are appropriate for your windows, for the sun position. When they receive calls, the order value for their business goes up 2 times. So let's have LocalVox help you get the kind of results that you can see we're able to deliver with mobile advertising. So I know what you're thinking. Taking a phone call can be expensive and time-consuming. You have to spend some time with your customers to help understand and truly address their needs. But Zappos.com, Tony Hsieh has written a really great book about customer service, and you can see that the value of customer service to his customers returns a significant value back to the business. He said that companies think about answering phone calls, spending time with their customers as an expense to minimize, but it's the way that they think about it at Zappos is that it's a huge untapped opportunity for most customers because it can result in word-of-mouth marketing and the potential to convert a lifetime consumer. So I don't know about you, Catherine, but I get really excited when I get a Zappos box in my mailbox. I know I can return my shoes with no cost. It's a very, very pleasant experience.
I actually have friends who, if they're not sure what size they are, they will order multiple sizes and return the ones they don't fit.
So much happiness, right?
Not sure that they want them doing that, but their customer service is phenomenal.
Yep, very happy customers. So Extra Space Storage did an extensive study on their different advertising channels, print, mobile, desktop, web advertising, and they found that 1 in 3 of their customers are mobile, and that 90% of the customers that they were able to acquire came from calls from a mobile phone. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the products that LocalVox can help blend into your advertising strategy, but Call Extensions, which is an advertising product, helps them increase those mobile conversions by 27%. If you can do quick math in your head on an envelope at your desk right now to figure out what 27% more business would do for your company, I think you'll start to see that not advertising on your mobile phone is actually costing you money. I mentioned Blinds.com. Their case study is just a phenomenal improvement in how they did mobile advertising. They convert new customers to becoming Blinds.com customers on mobile calls 7 times more than any other type of advertising. And when customers call, the order value, so how much they spend on blinds, is twice as much. Again, just another wonderful example of what mobile advertising can do for your business. So there are 4 keys to success with calls. They're pretty simple. I've gone over some of the kind of dialogue that you want to try and encourage with your customers. But first and foremost, make it easy for your customers to call. Then we want to measure calls accurately. So how are calls contributing to new customer business? Once you understand how and when your customers are calling, how much time they spend with you on the phone, you can start to optimize your advertising strategy. You'll know how much you need to spend on advertising for phone calls on mobile devices. And then we want to get into some of the more soft optimizations, understanding what to say when people call, what kinds of needs do they have, and how do you address them effectively. The first, make it easy for customers to call. They should be able to call from every channel. I know we're focusing on mobile today and mobile phones, but when you develop your website, make sure that it's an easy click to call if they're calling from a VoIP device. If they are searching for, say, a cupcake company near me, you want to make sure that when they search in Google Maps, your phone number is listed and that they can call directly from Google Maps. When you think about how your business is represented in online search, you want to make sure that your directory listings are updated with the correct phone number, and that when the search results come up, customers can easily find your phone number. Or, additionally, from mobile apps. If you have engaged with mobile app advertising, make sure that the advertising action, one of the possible things that people can do when they tap on your ad, is have a phone call. So I mentioned call extensions before. They're our primary way to drive phone calls with advertising. So they put this nice little call button, you can see it there under Geico, right in your ad, so that instead of having to tap out the phone number on a mobile device, you can just call with one click. How easy is that? They still have the option to click through to your website, but this way, like I mentioned, you're giving people options. Are they in the research phase? I want to know who is the best Greek restaurant nearby. Or are they ready to place a to-go order and pick something up for lunch? We also have something called call-only ads. This is really great if you're a service provider that doesn't have a website. So you can advertise and drive phone calls to your business without having a mobile website. And this is specifically great if you have done your studies, you've done your homework, and you understand, I don't really get new business from my website, but when people call, I know I can convert them to become my customer. So in some cases, for some businesses, you only want to give them that option because you know that's where you get the bang for your buck. So the ads that you see here are really driving phone calls. You can tell, you can see it in the ad text. It says call 800-453. And this is going to be especially helpful for businesses that are driven by phone calls. So, measuring your performance. How do you decide between what products to use, what advertising products to use, and where to sort of place your big bets? Localvox has a lot of tracking features, so they can help you understand which advertisements drove phone calls, what types of advertisements drove phone calls, which campaigns are generating the most phone calls. You should work with your rep or call a rep to call Localvox to figure out how you can really know what's working for your business. call forwarding numbers is one type of tracking that I know LocalVox has been using to great success. So this will help you set up a unique number to each of your ads so that you know which one's really working. It's pretty seamless to the customer. It shows as your phone number, but in the sort of background, the magic is happening, and we're helping LocalVox to track what ads are driving the most phone calls. So that means if you've got a business that is both heating, ventilation, and plumbing, you can understand which of the types of advertising campaigns for each sort of branch of your business, you can understand what's working best. Electricity Wizard did a conversion tracking study to great success. So they tried to understand which of the calls mattered most and used call forwarding numbers to understand that when they placed more of their advertising budget on the best performing ad groups and increased their advertising spend at the times of days that they were getting the most phone calls, they were able to drive 11% more phone calls. They raised the business that the phone calls drove by 7%, and they were able to answer 85% more phone calls. So, I mean, the thing that you should think about is if you have a lunch break or if you're out on a service call, you want to make sure that your advertising is set up so that you're not spending the most money when you're unable to answer the phone call. So call conversions, I mentioned, they're going to help you understand which ads are the best performing ads for driving phone calls, and website call conversions can be tracked too. So when you think about which of the sort of moments your customers are likely going to engage with your business, what are those moments? Sometimes those might be on a desktop device. And when you think about how to allocate your advertising budget, you want to make sure that you're measuring performance across all devices. Now that you're measuring and you have all this data about your phone calls, you'll be able to find nuggets of optimization, of insight, and optimize for them. So we gave the example of Electricity Wizard and scheduling around their lunch breaks, but it's important to think about the optimization of your own business as well. So flexible bidding strategies are what's going to let LocalVox take advantage of those types of fluctuations in your availability and in your customer need. I know that if you're a doctor, an on-call doctor specifically, it always happens. Thanksgiving is the time where someone's choked on the wishbone, and my uncle, who is a doctor, we always invite him to our large family gatherings, but we know that someone is going to give him a call. He lives in Montgomery, Alabama, and it's an inevitable outcome for Thanksgiving for us. So make sure that you're talking to your rep, understanding the fluctuations of your business, and using flexible bid strategies to help you make sure that you're answering the phone when your customers need you most. The other piece is really optimizing your business around calls. It's important to think about that, because if we start helping you generate 10 times more phone calls than you're accustomed to, how is that going to affect the callers? Are they going to be on hold? That obviously won't be a good experience to them. As we mentioned earlier, it's important to look at calls as an opportunity to really impress your new customers. Don't merely take orders or understand the simple need. Dig in and help them find a solution for their problem. Listen and recommend something, and do a little bit more than what your website can already do for you. So, to summarize, here are a couple ways that you'll want to optimize your business. Will an increase in volume or longer hold times impact customer satisfaction? If so, adjust staffing, trade sort of who's going to answer the phone when, make sure you're covering your lunch breaks. If you look at your peak call times and adjust staffing appropriately, understand when you're missing calls. So LocalVox can help you understand if their advertising drove a phone call at a time that you weren't there. So make sure that when you have that information and you're adjusting your advertising strategy, that you're fixing that type of problem. The last one that's kind of obvious is deliver impeccable customer service on the phone. So think about surveying your customers after their experience. If you understand what they experienced on that phone call, you can help make sure that you get the same results that, say, Electricity Wizard did with their mobile advertising and phone calling strategies. And like I said, mobile is more than just store visits. So understand how all of the different ways that people discover your business is driving phone calls to your business. The average person will look at 10 different sources before making a decision about who to work with. So if you can work with a company like LocalVox to understand what's working for you and what's driving the most phone calls, then you'll know how to spend your ad budget to the best of your ability. So calls should be measured and integrated with your broader advertising strategy. You should be measuring calls and attributing all calls, whether they are from print, ads, websites, mobile advertising, app advertising, social media. If you blog, you'll want to make sure that anyone who visited your blog then looked up your phone number, that you're giving credit where credit is due. To understand the impact of calls, you should measure how they're converting new business for you. Do you typically see a new customer spend, say, $200 with your business when they give you a phone call? The most robust way to do this is the conversion data that I talked about with call tracking and website analytics, but we can also help you understand how to do tracking in a little bit more of a simple way. Use a spreadsheet to log calls and understand what the average order is for each person who called your business. The last thing I want to talk about is what is the future of mobile phones and how people engage with your business on their mobile phones. So the focus today was phone calls, but that is typically the best place to start to drive greater mobile performance. The use of text messaging is exploding, and that presents several potential opportunities to engage with your customers and accelerate your conversational sales strategies. So I don't know how many of you regularly communicate with people under 20 years old, but I have a nephew in college right now, and he hasn't set up his voicemail. If I call him, he'll text message me back seconds after I call. And really the only way to communicate with him other than being in front of him is to text message. On average, messages from businesses are opened with a 90% open rate. And if you've ever tried email marketing for your business, you'll know that is extremely, extremely high. A lot of people prefer to use text messages, specifically when they don't have time to dedicate to a phone conversation, or they might be in a place where the private nature of a phone call might feel a little awkward. So we are developing products that help customers advertise on text messages, or advertise to receive text messages from customers. So look for this in the next year, because I think this is a really exciting new opportunity for your business. Okay, that was a lot, and I got through it in 30 minutes because I wanted to make sure that I got some time for questions. So please do submit questions via the webinar, and Catherine's going to kind of be reading them out as if she were asking them, but they're coming from you.
So one of the first questions that came in is, how do I define my target market for if this person is a restaurant in Atlanta? How do they know who to, there's a lot of people in Atlanta. How do they go about targeting their ads for that?
Yeah, so my strategy for any kind of targeting would be to focus on consumer or customer intent. I think a lot of people worry about the demographics of who they're advertising to. So, for example, I want to reach men in their 60s who have dogs and love Greek food. But I think that can get really kind of, you could be missing a lot of people by only targeting by demographics. So I guess what I would do is start by observing what kinds of intent are surrounding your business. Do people typically search for your business at lunchtime? That might hint towards a business crowd, right? Are people finding your business on maps or Yelp or sort of other ways of understanding what drives people to give you a call or visit your restaurant? Tracking and conversion tracking, like I mentioned, analytics, Google Analytics can help you understand what really people are looking for when they find your business, and I would focus on the best customers, so the people who are indicating sort of urgent intent, just a kind of crazy hunger for Greek food. So I hope that answers your question, and please do type in additional questions or further questions on that if I didn't sufficiently answer.
Someone else asked, how do you know what people are searching for? How do I know what my customer, how do I know what they're looking for?
Yeah.
Do I search for a pizza deal or do I search for lunch catering? How do I know?
So hopefully you have a website, because that'll be the easiest way to understand what searches drive people to your business. If you have analytics or Google Analytics specifically, there is a report that LocalVox can generate for you that says people who search for pepperoni pizza come to your website at a greater frequency than people who search for Hawaiian pizza or flatbread pizza. But that is all in analytics, and you can definitely ask your LocalVox rep to help you understand those search terms.
Somebody asked, what do you recommend for businesses that serve customers nationwide from a single phone number and only have one physical location? This particular person has AdWords targeted for the search near me, and they're worried about losing people that are outside of that maps region, outside of their service zone. So, maybe a multi-location throughout the Northeast or something. What would you recommend for that? Would you still drive them to that one phone number or to the website? How would you tailor that?
So if I'm understanding the question right, it sounds like this business is a franchise business that has a headquarters, and the advertising phone number is specific to that headquarters. So maybe you've got a call center or one person answering the phone. A couple things that I would recommend, specifically if you don't have your phone center or the person answering your phone working, East Coast and West Coast hours, I would make sure that your advertising is not showing or turned off during times that no one is there to answer the phone. You don't have to be very transparent about that. You're just, the ads just won't drive people to phone calls while you can't answer the phone. I think I would take advantage of the call forwarding numbers. So you can specifically or assign a different call forwarding number to each region, to each franchise location, so that you can understand which locations are driving the most phone calls to that single headquarters. When you understand where phone calls are being, the regional location that is getting the most call volume, you can start to consider how to optimize your business for that call volume. You might consider having an East Coast shift and a West Coast shift, or you could potentially hire someone closer to the region to work out of their home and answer phone calls for that very high volume market. So I hope that answers your question, but please do kind of give more context if I missed a bit of your problem that we want to try and solve.
So somebody asked a specific one, and this reminded me of your pipe problem. When you have an apartment in New York, it's when something breaks these old buildings, it's an emergency, and it can often feel like life or death. But somebody asked, do you have any tips for urgent care facilities? How could they use the call feature?
Yeah. So. Okay, so you're an urgent care health provider, and it sounds like potentially you may be competing for visits with other local healthcare providers, or that you want to make sure that when people search for help, they're able to find your phone number. The thing that I would recommend is related to the first question, but really understand what search words, what search terms are the most important for you to show up, and start to understand how your advertising can respond to those urgent care needs. So a bike accident, or potentially someone like my uncle experiences very frequently in Alabama, someone choking on a wishbone at Thanksgiving. So have highly targeted search terms in your search campaign. The other thing that I would recommend is near me searches. So this is a new phenomenon driven by mobile phones. But from 2014 to 2015 to 2016, each year we've seen the number of searches executed with the term after it, near me, so urgent care near me, double every year. You might consider blending a near me strategy into your advertising campaign. So setting a radius around your urgent care location or locations, and making sure that anyone doing a search in that 5-mile radius, 10-mile radius is served an ad for your facility.
That's great advice. One of the, and this is more of a technical question, what happens if two people call in at once? Does one of them go to voicemail, or should people worry about the call being dropped because they're on the phone with someone else, or how does the call feature route that?
Yeah, so that's going to be really specific to your business. If you're talking about call forwarding, what it will do is route the calls at the same time. One of them will be a missed call, but you'll get a report that says that you missed that call. And you can call that business back, you can call that customer back. There are call forwarding features that can optimize and reroute that kind of situation depending on how your technology is set up and if you have the bandwidth to answer two phones. But that's going to be pretty specific to how you've got it set up. So I do think that if you give LocalVox a call and have them understand, maybe there's a time of the day where you're expecting multiple calls at one time, they can make sure that the solution that they've installed for you is going to accommodate for that.
Great. This reminds me of, when my boss is out of the office, for example, his calls get forwarded to me, and then if I don't answer, they get forwarded to our marketing manager. So, you can work within your technology, and and that way you won't miss any calls. The last question is an interesting one, and it's about optimizing voice search. I've been seeing a ton of that, and how I didn't realize that you can speak into Google search functionality now. What happens when somebody is speaking keywords into the phone? Is that are the ads served up that way? Can you track those? I guess just some insights around it.
Yeah, so conversion tracking and general AdWords analytics is going to be tracked the exact same way. So you're, depending on how you have your tracking set up, you're going to see that was a voice search, but I think that you won't really have to do anything differently for voice search. The customer experience will be the same. And I know that a lot of the kind of allure of voice search, specifically when you're out, say, driving or walking your dog, is going to appeal to that customer who's going to want to search on their mobile phone, call you from their mobile phone, be hands-free. 41% of adults and 55% of teens use voice search one time a day. So you want to make sure that if your business is specifically targeted to kind of those early adopters or younger mobile phone users, that your advertising is going to be available to those customers. And so thank you for asking the question. It reinforces my point. You've got to be running mobile advertising to reach those kind of ahead of the game customers who are using voice search.
And that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank Susana for coming into our office and presenting to everyone. I learned a lot from this deck, and I'm really excited about the text messaging portion. That's something very cool. And, Google is always ahead of us, so it's really exciting to know. And so thank you, Susana. And for everybody who is on the call, we do upload the deck. It's just an attachment in the Attachments and Links feature. You can look for it probably tomorrow. Ready Talk takes a while, takes a while to process. So stay tuned for that, and thank you for joining us today. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.